All right, everybody, Robert Jerdee here, and welcome to the Saturday Morning Cartoons edition of All Things Nerdy. Hope you're having a great Saturday morning or afternoon, depending on when I put this video out. And today I wanted to celebrate the Black Panther. You know, yesterday we learned of the passing, the sad passing of Chadwick Boseman, a talented, immensely talented actor who played, Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, and T'Challa, the Black Panther, a huge character in Marvel Comics. Created by, another reason why we're celebrating Black Panther today. Yesterday was Jack Kirby's birthday. Jack Kirby is one of the creators of the Black Panther. Kirby and Stan Lee, who in 1966 created the character. So today felt like a good day to do a Black Panther cartoon. And today we are doing, it's from the Fantastic Four cartoon series from 1995. This is a fun cartoon actually, if you've never seen this one. It sort of bucks the convention of the time. Batman the Animated Series was out, and it was very dark. It was like on black paper dark, you know what I mean? And, that sort of V-shaped, blocky body style. Everybody was kind of going for that for a long time. And now this show isn't the first one to do so, but it really kind of mixed things up a little bit by being very bright, very round as opposed to angular and blocky in the cartoon style, the animation style. So it's a lot of fun. It's also a good representation of the Fantastic Four, who, unlike the X-Men, are usually they'll save the world and then get booed and beat up by the general populace. Most of the world really celebrates the Fantastic Four in a huge way. So you see that in the cartoon, it's like horns and whistles and parades, and it's very Fantastic Four. But this this issue sort of reprints the first appearance of the Black Panther. That's Fantastic Four Volume 1, issues 52 and 53 in 1966. Again, created by Kirby and Lee. Let's get into it. This is a good one. So we see, it starts off in the jungles of Wakanda, and you see a guide. Two guys in a Jeep, and they're driving around, and they're like, what are these huge footprints? They're freaking out. They know something's up. And then all of a sudden you see this gigantic size red gorilla, right? And it's smashing stuff, and these guys are trying to fight it, and it's impervious to any harm. Meanwhile, these two natives, these two Wakanda natives are hunting, and they turn around and they see it, and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? And then it disappears all of a sudden. And people are like, what's going on? What is happening? And so they go to their prince, or they go to their king. And they're like, sir, this is what we saw. It was a giant red gorilla, and he was beating everybody up, but he couldn't be harmed, and he just vanished into thin air. And the king is on his throne, and he's like, it has begun, or now is the time. Something awesome, an awesome phrase like that. It begins. And then he pushes a button, and this Black Panther statue rises. And he goes to it, and it's boom, Black Panther. And so the next scene, we see it shifts, and we see the Fantastic Four. And we see Johnny, and he's staring sadly out the window. Johnny Storm is one of the Fantastic Four. There's obviously four members. They were in a science experiment. They got up in a rocket, went to space to do some science experiments, got bombarded with cosmic rays. Each of them get 4 different powers. Johnny Storm can put things on fire, or is fire. Sue Storm is invisible woman, but she can turn invisible. She also has these bubbles of protection that are actually incredibly strong. The Thing, Ben Grimm, was the pilot, and he turned into a big rock. And then Reed Richards, who was the scientist and the brains behind the Thing, turned into Plastic Man. He's all malleable and can extend himself and all of those things. So we see Johnny Storm, longingly looking out the window, and we learn that there's something going on with the Inhumans, and they're trapped behind the negative zone barrier, I think, something like that. And he's bummed, and the Thing is, hey man, it's gonna be cool, we'll figure it out. That Reed Richards right now is working, burning the midnight oils, trying to figure this out. And so he leaves and he goes to the lab where Reed Richards is, and sure enough, you can see Reed Richards is passed out over his computer as he's been working all night on trying to fix this thing. And so, you start to see the family. Fantastic Four is known for being the family of the, the first family of the Marvel Universe. So, you know, the Thing is like, oh, he's asleep in his, you know, in his Thing voice. And the alarm goes off. And he's like, what is happening? And he's like, I don't want to wake anybody because it's real late. I'll just go take care of it myself. I'm the Thing. So he goes upstairs to where the alarm is going off. And right away, boom, Black Panther kicks him in the face. And there's a struggle. Now, the Thing is one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe. He regularly goes up against the Hulk. And while he usually doesn't win, he'll give the Hulk a good run for his money most of the time. And so Black Panther is just treating him. He's like judo moves, using his size against him, flipping around. And then Black Panther takes off. He goes back to his ship and he flies away. At this point, all the other Fantastic Four are awake. And so they go in their Fantastic car and they split. And they chase him. And, you know, they learn pretty quick that the Wakandan technology, the ship he's in, is way out of their league. And as it like blasts away, warp speed, and vanishes. And Sue and Reed are like, well, that sucks. All right, I guess we better turn around and go back home. And Ben is like, can't do that. Can't happen. That's a terrible thing. But he's like, they can't because a tractor beam has attached to their ship. And it's following the Black Panther. Or this masked character. We don't know who it is yet. I mean, we do, but anyway. So they're like, well, I guess we'll find out where we're going. And so they end up in Wakanda. And it's such a great scene, too, kind of like in the movie. It's all, you know, jungle and trees. And then you pass a point, and it's like civilization. It's like this robotic, mechanical, gleaming civilization. And so they land, and then, you know, they kind of regroup. The heroes are like, okay, well, here we are. It doesn't look, this isn't what I expected. What's happening? And then Black Panther appears and he's like, you are my prey and now is time for the hunt. And all of a sudden, the other Wakandans come out and start shooting the Fantastic Four with these green lasers. And there, of course, Ben Grimm says something, you know, stinking lasers ain't gonna hurt me. And I'm gonna do that through this whole episode. And, but it turns out that these lasers, they're not hurting them, but they're like anti-polarity, and so it pushes them away from each other, which is a brilliant strategy, divide and conquer, right? So he separates the Fantastic Four, weakening them, and then the Black Panther takes on one at a time. First he takes on Johnny Storm, takes him out super easy and locks him in like a case, a fireproof case, and then sucks all the air out. So his flame is extinguished. And then he goes after Sue Storm. And Sue Storm gives him a hard time. She goes invisible, and then the force fields. Eventually, T'Challa is able to get around it, knocks her out. And then he goes after the Thing next. And so him and the Thing are battling, and what happens is there's like all these pools of water around the Thing. And so the Thing is like, he's tired, and he's, you know, so he dips his hand, his paw, in the water, and he like splashes them on himself. And then he starts to realize that the water is like a sedative. And Black Panther's there, and so they start to fight, but it weakens them, so they're almost on the same physical strength level. And, but the Thing is kind of dirty. He fights dirty. And so he's like, oh, I can't, I'm going to sleep. Boom, gotcha. You know, and does things like that. And so it actually surprised, like Black Panther's like, I'm impressed. This is more of a challenge than I thought. Of course I'm gonna win. But this is more of a challenge, and sure enough, he freezes the Thing, and the Thing like an ice block. And then he's like, all right, Reed Richards is the last one, and then I've won this challenge. And Reed Richards is like, no, you already lost, dude. And like you turn around, and it's like him and Reed start fighting, and he locks up Reed Richards in these tentacles. Tentacles? Manacles. Manacles. Not tentacles, manacles. They're tentacle-y, but anyway. So these manacles, and he can't, like titanium manacles, and he can't get out. And Black Panther's like, I've defeated all of you now, you know? And then all of a sudden you see like a fire out of nowhere. And it's Johnny Storm, and he's freed, and he frees Reed, and then the Thing, and then Sue Storm show up, and Black Panther's like, how did this happen? How did you escape? And he's like, I never escaped. He's like, well, you were fighting Sue Storm and the Thing. Reed Richards was tracking me, was tracking Johnny, and he let me loose. And then the two of them got together. That was it. Once you hooked up the two of them, then they found the third and the fourth, and once you unite the Fantastic Four, you can't beat them, right? And so Black Panther's like, damn it. I underestimated you guys, I overestimated myself. I'm a failure. He's like, I'm not worthy of leading my village in this time of trouble. And they're like, okay, what's going on? Like, we've been hunted and we've, kind of played along here. So why don't you tell us what's really happening? And he's like, and Reed's like, well, I've deduced, I've deduced what's happening. And it turns out that yes, Black Panther was using them as prey to test his mettle. And he felt like if he could defeat the Fantastic Four, which he kind of does, whatever. But he's like, if I can defeat the Fantastic Four, then I'm truly ready to lead my village and to defeat my mortal enemy, Ulysses Klaue. And so we learn about, well, first, once the fight's over, then the heroes are introduced to Wakanda, and it's this beautiful land of like thriving people, and it's just like, this is like utopian, this African utopia. And they're all talking, and he's like, and Black Panther gives his origin. And he talks about how when he was a kid, the Ulysses Klaue came to their island, to their village, and wanted their vibranium. Vibranium is a huge, it's like a metal resource. It's a rare resource. So in the Marvel comics, there's vibranium and adamantium. There's many metals, but those are the two biggest ones. Vibranium has to deal with like sonics, absorbing sound, among other things, And adamantium is just the hardest metal in the universe. I don't know about the universe, but certainly the hardest metal on Earth. It can slice things to like molecular levels. Like Wolverine is so dangerous because like his claws can cut through anything because they're cutting through atoms. You know what I mean? And eventually he's going to cut through it. So we learned that that Ulysses Klaue and his people are there to destroy the village and steal their vibranium. And T'Challa's father, he's the head, he's the king of Wakanda, and he's like, no, you can't come in here and steal our resources. Get out of here. And so Ulysses Klaue kills him. And his soldiers destroy, it's a hard scene to watch actually, but they start to destroy the village, and people are screaming, and houses are burning. And T'Challa sees all this go down, and he's enraged, of course. And he picks up, Ulysses Klaue is a master of sonic weaponry, and that's why he wants vibranium so bad, the metals, and it amplifies his powers. And so T'Challa grabs one of these sonic weapons, and he's like screaming, no, and he starts taking everybody out. He blows off Ulysses Klaue's hand, and he destroys, he like smashes the camp where the bad guys are, and eventually they flee, and Wakanda's saved, but of course at a huge cost. The king is dead, his father's passed. So T'Challa decides to get some of the vibranium now. He sells like a small portion of it. Of course, it's the most valuable metal in the Marvel Universe. It becomes, it is the most valuable metal in the Marvel Universe, and so he becomes rich in American money for just selling like a small little handful of this stuff. And he goes to the best colleges, and he educates himself now to truly earn the mantle of the Black Panther. And so he goes to sciences, and he trains himself to be in top physical condition, and he does all these things, advanced science, technology, and eventually turning Wakanda into this sort of technological paradise, right? But what he needed to do, his last mission, was to defeat the great Fantastic Four. That's how he knew that he had passed. And so he's telling this to the Fantastic Four, and Sue's like, why didn't you just tell us in the first place, man? Why did you do that? And he, and so they go back and forth about it. But as they're talking, Klaue attacks, right? Klaue and his men attack. And so there's a big battle that goes on, and the Fantastic Four are there, and they stop it. But they find what Klaue is able to do is he's able to use sonic sounds to create creatures, right? That's why he's got the gorilla. And so they're like, he's got to have machinery to do this. It's not like portable. And so they find the one place where Klaue would be, and Black Panther and Reed Richards do a full-on attack, and they knock out everybody, and Black Panther and Klaue are going back and forth, where Klaue falls back into the sonic machine, and he's like, no! And he's sucked into the machine, and he's like energy, and that's it. And you're like, he's gone. He's dead. He fell into the machine, and now his particles are scrambled, And so So Claw defeated, they go back to Wakanda and they have a celebration, and T'Challa's like, well, now that Claw's defeated and Wakanda is safe again, it's time for me to hang up the mantle of the Black Panther. It's not needed anymore. And then all of a sudden you hear like this, all these explosions and sounds, and it's Claw and he's returned, but he's different now. Before he looked like a dude. I mean, big old beard, like a, one of these beards, but like a no mustache beard. But he comes back and he's now the Claw we know from the comics, red costume, but he's like pure energy. And he's got his sonic weapon on his hand, and he's just running amok in Wakanda, right? And they can't really fight him because he's almost impervious. And it turns out that vibranium is his weakness. And so they use vibranium, these vibranium bracelets that Wakanda had given to Sue as a gift. They're able to use those to put this power against Claw. And in a kind of a dark moment, Claw gets knocked out, or he gets knocked off he's riding like a flying buzzard or something. He gets knocked off it and he falls into the mound of vibranium. And the vibranium starts to absorb him. And so he gets sucked into this vibranium mound and he's like, no! And it's great. It's kind of, like I said, his essence, he's still alive, but he's trapped in this mound of vibranium. It's kind of a creepy ending, but good. So he's, I feel like this is something that's going to be released later, of course, because Claw is a huge character in the Marvel Universe. At any rate, Claw defeated officially Black Panther, and they're all celebrating, and he's like, well, now is the time to, give up my mantle and go back to being T'Challa and, let the Black Panther out only when it's needed. And Sue is like, you're gifted and you're privileged, and maybe the Black Panther should be out there all the time protecting people, protecting not only Wakanda, but all people. So I don't think you should sit the mask up yet. It's your decision and the thing. And they're all like, yeah, man, dude. But yeah, but anyway, at any rate, they convinced T'Challa to stay as the Black Panther. So it ends on this very heroic moment. You've got the Black Panther symbol, you've got Black Panther, the Fantastic Four around him. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm a fan of this particular 95 Fantastic Four. It's a fun style, it's bright, and I thought it was a fun retelling of that 52, 53 Fantastic Four. A Black Panther is a huge character. And of course, with the loss of Chadwick Boseman, and it's a small, really, who cares about movies? That's so on the back burner. But, the character itself truly is an inspirational character, and it was amazing. And it's so funny, I did a video yesterday when the news came out, and getting responses from people about it and how, and not just, he was a character, Black Panther, a legacy for people to look up to of all nationalities, races, and colors. You know what I mean? I had people, Latinas who were telling me that their family members were sad, me and my nephew went to go see it and awed at Wakanda. So it's sad, he was an amazing actor and he leaves an amazing legacy. And it was, you can't have gotten a better actor to portray the Black Panther. So it's bittersweet, but it's also, the legacy, what a legacy. So thank you for watching this Saturday Morning Cartoons edition. It was pretty fun. I had a lot of fun watching it, and hopefully you had a lot of fun watching me reminisce. Next Wednesday is when Wednesday is when I put out the All Things Nerdy edition, so keep an eye out for that. As always, thanks for watching. Robert Jerdee here. Stay safe, be kind to each other, love each other, and stay nerdy.